Right, and we are recording. So I figured we'd go and do some of the weekly setups and then answer some questions. Maybe do some charting on some tickers that y'all are interested in too. But so to start with, I'm really just going to be looking at the 1 week channel. Let's see. I don't have that up right now on my actual computer, so on my other one. But kind of going through them, looking at some of the reversals, some of the actual setups that are actionable for us, and just kind of go through things, and maybe we can find some cool plays that we will all bank on together. So, without further ado, the first one on the list was Apple. It was a 2 up, 2 down on the week. So that was pretty solid 2 down. I think we're going to see a lot of 2 downs. See the option. What do you mean, Jake? Not in here. Select a roll. Hold on. Oh. Yep, some people don't actually have rolls yet. MJ, yes, it will be recorded. Probably get it up later tonight or tomorrow. Jamie. All right. So, all right. So, Apple, first one. We're gonna see, I think, a lot of 2 downs this week, and it's kind of a big bummer. But I think we're probably gonna see another 2 down week for a lot of tickers. So, I think it's unless some great news comes out about the war between Russia and Ukraine, I don't think that there's going to be much of a red or a green week. Oman, would you mute yourself? Or I'm gonna have to do it for you. All right, so I'll do it for you then. Go. So what we have, Apple, 2 up, 2 down. Really to chart this stuff out, I'm gonna look at the first level, which is down here at 154.50, and see where we can go from there. I mean, the literal next price target that has some actual support for us, and notice there is some past support here on this area. So when I'm sitting here looking at a potential play, I'm going to be looking at past support, recent past support. I'm not going to look at something all the way back from like pre-COVID, but there is some support here. So the week of 124, we came down that low with Apple, and so I mean, I don't know, we might be seeing some consolidation here instead of a drop. So that's something to keep in mind. But if we do see a drop, the price target is going to be 152. So there's going to be about a $2.50 move here for Apple to the downside. Now note, let me go ahead and remove this. Move over here to this chart. This is my daily. This is my weekly chart. This is the monthly low. So the previous month's low is down here at that 152 mark. Now, that's an inch. I know I've said this a couple times on some other trades like Roblox, but keep in mind, like whole numbers like this are nice magnets. So 152 whole number, 50 whole number, 155, all these things are whole numbers. So if you're seeing resistance or support around a whole number, that's a pretty strong area of support or resistance. Just again, whole numbers are simple. That's the easiest way to explain that. So if I were going to get an Apple, I'd be looking for a downside play. I would then kind of go over to look at what the option chains look like. So the 152 50s are there for $2. I mean, the spreads aren't horrible. The one thing that kind of bums me about Apple, when you start getting higher up here, like over 150, they run in the $2.50 increments. So that's kind of a bummer. So it's not like you could go ahead and get the 150 puts because, I mean, well, you could, but for me, I play safe rather than regretting my decision. So I'm going to play an at the money play. I'm looking at this here. That's not to say you can't, but play something out of the money. 150 is another price target. So price level 2 here would be the first price target. Price level 3 would be the second price target. And the average true range of Apple moves about $5 a day. So there's nothing saying that Apple definitely won't go down to 150 on the first day, for that matter. So give it a whole week. Who knows where it's going to go. All right, so that's Apple. If you get in it, obviously wait for it to go past the price level here, the entry. So if I were to label this, go ahead and say entry, and I'll label this other one. This is price target 1. The other thing I really like about this particular graph is that the price targets for the weekly pretty much coincide with the price targets for the daily. So that's pretty solid too. So if I just kind of, if I'm looking at the daily instead, there'd be another price target right here as well, the 150.99 area. But that's kind of nice when they coincide pretty easily with your next price target, instead of there being other things in the way like we're looking at here now. There are extra price targets in the way. Not really that one, sorry. There are price targets in the way of getting a price target too. So if you're looking at it on the daily, and scalping, day trades, just holding on for it for the week, those are levels that you should be aware of, because it might find some support right here, bounce back up, and then come back down. So don't freak out, but definitely draw your levels and know what you're getting into. All right, so that was really the one reversal that I wanted to go over. We'll go over the indexes right quick too before we start going into all the other actionable setups that we have. So let me go ahead and remove this. I don't want to actually like delete everything, because I have my broadening formation drawn and I don't want to lose that. So that's one broadening formation. If I wanted to redraw it now, since we had some inflection right there, I probably could do another broadening formation there. But so here's our weekly entries. Upside will be 432.30, downside 415.12. I don't know. I still feel like we're gonna see some red this week. So be prepared. Have your plays, your put plays ready. Have some call plays as well. This is on the weekly, right? So if we look on the daily, SPY's a 3 on the day. Now, when I enter things, it's good to know your weekly levels, but I typically am going to enter something on the daily level. So if we see a break to the upside, so a 3-2 to the upside, that's good stuff. Then I'd be looking for an entry after that. So if we actually have a 2-bar up, or in this case 2-bar down, then I'd be looking for an entry, and the price target that I'd be looking at would actually be the weekly low, the previous week's low. So I'd line that up to be price target 1, set my entry on the downside there. My entry to the upside would be here, and then my first little tight here. So when I that's the next bit. So you're playing SPY. This is a little different on SPY, because this little tiny move actually can be quite profitable. But when you're looking at things like Chewy and pretty much any other stock, and I mentioned this last week on a couple of my plays, what I end up doing is moving my entry to the next price point that acts as resistance. So then if we end up upping through that as well, then I'll be looking for an entry, especially if the next price target has some decent magnitude. So 429.51 to 432.30. That's pretty decent magnitude for SPY. So that would be probably the safer entry there. And moving your entry points is obviously no big deal. It's not exactly Stratisk do it, but I found that it's beneficial, definitely beneficial. So, when you see me say I'm moving it to the previous 2-bar or something, that's pretty much what I mean. It's just that like the magnitude between the two is really tight. All right, so yeah. Anyway, so go back here. So that's price target 1. I got entry. One in PT2. So I do like, you know, if SPY were to somehow go to the upside, again, it just really depends what goes on in the world. Guess that's something to keep an eye on. That 432, and then you got, you know, quite a big move after we get past that 432, 434 area. Pretty big move back to 440. But then you go look at the option chains, especially for, let's say, Monday, and you can kind of see what the bets are that people are making. So on the put side, a lot of open interest right here for the 415 puts. So that's kind of a bummer. And you look at, let's see, Wednesday next week, not so much, but man, look at March 18th. That's actually March 18th, Friday. So 415, open interest is incredibly high. 416, open interest is really high. 418, high open interest, as opposed to, you know, what you're looking at here in the thousands, 3000s, 2000s. So when I'm sitting here picking my option chains, you know, open interest tells you how many contracts are out there. So a lot of people have already made bets that SPY is going to 415. It looks like. Not to say they're right, but that's you know, something that kind of like follow the money, follow the big money. Something people say. All right, so that is SPY. Let's take a look at the Qs. If you guys have any questions while I'm talking, because I just start rambling, you know, just put them in the chat or come off mute and ask. Yeah. So I'll make my broadening formation right there. Stretch that backwards more. So yeah, there's your weekly broadening formation. My entry 434, 464, and then my downside would be CO, please. Sure thing, Alex. In a bit. Yep. So there's your entries. Well, I mean, the nice thing about the strat is the setups are relatively simple to get behind. This is literally an exercise I do every morning. I go through each one of the indexes. I move my lines, which are my price targets, and you know, now I'm not going to have anything to do tomorrow morning because I'm doing it today. But this gives me the ability, and I typically do it in the mornings because who knows what happens. I mean, we see that index or the futures right now are moving around, and in fact they're green right now, so that's cool. But who knows what's going to happen overnight? Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow morning before the market opens? So I don't really do a lot of you know, deciding on what I'm going to play until I see what the morning or what overnight held. So you know, 7:30, 7:30, 8 o'clock. I'm you know, reading, going through the chart, seeing what looks strong, what looks weak, stuff like that, to kind of figure out if I'm going to do a put play or be looking at put plays or be looking at calls, you know, going long. So that's my general morning routine. Then the price level there is going to be nice and low on the monthly low. So 3 bars, yeah, lots of 3 bars. Now keep in mind, 3 bar, let me go back to QQ right quick. A lot of the time that you see 3 bars, the next bar is a 1. It's an inside bar just because of the massive magnitude. But that's, you know, under what I would call like normal circumstances. I mean, you know, if SPY opens up or QQQ opens up tomorrow, you know, in the 329, you know, range, let's call it the almost halfway point for this guy. Then obviously it's a 1 bar, so now you're gonna want to wait for that break. But a lot of times, you know, that 3-1 setup that we see with the strat is you know, what results from this. So keep an eye out, you know, wait for the break, as I call it, or as I say, and see what happens. You know, wait for that. Don't get in too early. I mean, can. But 1 bar is consolidation. Keep that in mind. So you're sitting here playing consolidation. Who knows? That's when you get chopped up. So just some straight up downhill momentum there. All right, so mark the entry here. And the other one I've started looking at lately, and I hadn't been doing this in the past, and I'm kind of regretting the fact that I haven't, but one of the things that I really have started doing is looking at IWM as well. Crazy thing is that the option chains aren't actually as hold on one second. Sorry, had to sneeze. Didn't think anybody wanted to go deaf. My bad. So the option chains are a little more affordable during the week, especially if you're looking at, like, SPY and QQQ have been really like high lately. The premiums have been up there, so I've been playing IWM. It moves quickly, just like the indexes do. But let's look at that right quick. Yet another outside day. So instead of redrawing all the lines, I'm gonna just and remove some stuff and then change some things. So this now becomes price target 1. My entry to the upside is now here. Entry to the downside pretty much stays where it's at. Price target 1 there, price target 2. So I mean, just a lot of, I might as well move the price target up to this guy. Go 530. Yep, 205. Probably a pretty safe place to go ahead and put that price target. And then obviously you got this one further out, 207. But again, I mean, the the March 14th, 0 DTEs, quick in, quick out. If you're gonna play these, I've been saying this for weeks and months maybe, but I need to get better about actually posting my plays when I jump into something like SPY or QQQ or Dow. I try to avoid DIA, the diamonds, but IWM I've started getting into. Again, the only downfall is it turns very quickly. I mean, if you sit here and pull back on like the 15-minute or the 5-minute, I mean, might be a relatively bad example to sit here and look at Friday, but I mean, when it turns, and the options get really spready really quickly. So if we go take a look at those, I mean, during the day, these move pretty quick. And again, they were a lot more spready. So you want to try to put I've been putting my order in with a limit instead of a market. I look at the mark price, like 124 in this case, and I'll put it in for like 123, 122, sometimes even at the bid when we're looking at really spready things. And if it executes, it does. It's great. I'm in. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I mean, the way I look at it, somebody might be trying to sell it for a little bit cheaper because they've already got their profit and they want to make sure that they get their profit. So who's to say I couldn't be that guy on the buy side? So want to also, on that same vein, talk about something that's like really spready, like chewy here. Take a look at the 39 puts. The bid's 176. The ask is 194. The mark, which is the average, the middle price, right, $1.85. So, but last, right, somebody last bought or sold something for $178 here. So, these are all things to keep in mind when you're sitting here and looking at options. Now, again, I generally put limit orders in because I don't want to play the market. What's going to end up happening, if I want to go ahead and get the 39 call right now and put a market order in, I'm getting it at $1.94 or potentially higher, maybe lower. But it's going to, I mean, that's the current ask, so that's what I'm going to pay for it, more than likely. And right off the bat, I'm upside down, almost 20 cents. So, keep that in mind when you're looking at things. Oh, William Hurt just died. So yeah, keep that in mind. Keep the spread in mind when you're looking at things. I think this actually happened. We were talking about it on Friday with I can't remember what ticker it was, but Oracle maybe. I think it was Oracle. If you got in on Oracle and you didn't just jump on in, I guess, with the market order and put maybe a limit in, I think it was going to be a more friendly play. But again, especially in the mornings, right? IV is high, um, which means the bid and ask is wide. So, and then it's going to be wider when you're looking at smaller contracts, or contracts with smaller open interest and volume too. So, I mean, this basically means that the people that are selling and buying get to dictate the price, and you only have a handful of people doing that versus something like this. People selling and buying. The spread is obviously a little bit more tight because the more people and the more cooks in the kitchen, so to speak. The tighter the price is going to end up becoming because people average it out. So anyway, all right. So let's actually look at some real actionable setups. So JWN was a 2-up-1 on the week. So this one was actually a play I think we did on Friday or Thursday. It worked out, and then it didn't, and then it did again. So it really is hard sometimes, to play that. I mean, I would almost put this in the meme stock category, out there with like Bed Bath and Beyond and whatnot. But that's not to say it's not playable. So we're doing 2-1 on the week. So now I'm going to make my weekly levels. So instead of entering, this is obviously one way to play it, right? So if I want to enter on the weekly break, so we want to wait for weekly downside. So I'm going to be a little more verbose with my labels here. So we'll say that's our weekly entry, and this is, maybe I'll abbreviate it. So that will be our week entry up and our week entry down. So that's really easy because the week and the day coincide, right? If I'm moving over here now to the daily chart, the week and the day coincide. Now there's a massive gap fill. So like that play from a gap fill perspective. So I'd be looking at maybe like the 22 puts, which as of right now, all right, hey, they have 22.5 puts too. More open interest on those. But I mean, look at this. There's a massive amount of open interest on the $20 put. On the flip side, people that are a little more positive on the move, there's a lot of open interest on the 25 call. So, yeah, and that's the whole thing with a 2-1. So if we're sitting here looking at the price target, since we have a weekly entry, we want to see where we might end up going for the week. So that would be our weekly PT1 up there, and then our weekly PT1 on the downside. And let's see there. So that's it. And I know we have some new folks in here. So when you're looking at the strat, definitely check out the learning area, because I know we have some like PDFs in there that you can download, print off, throw on your wall behind your monitor or whatever, and look. But you're looking for breaks, right? So the 2-1, the entry, we play high lows. So the entry that you'd be looking for is when we go 2 down. So anything between these 2 white lines right now, the week entry on the upside and the downside would be a 1 candle, a 1 bar, an inside bar. And then if it goes to the downside, that'll become a 2. Now, if it goes to the downside and comes back up all the way through and then goes up to the upside, well, now we have a 3 bar. And those are powerful things as well. And that's actually what this red line tells us. So if we ended up going 2 up, let's go back to QQQ. So go over here to the daily. So what ended up happening at some point yesterday or Friday, see, Thursday, Friday. Yep. So Friday opened up high. Friday opened up around 334.68, right? So up here. So it opened as a 2 up. and then it pretty much did nothing but drop the rest of the day. So this line, that this little script I made, that's also in the the script studies channel. But this actually puts the halfway mark on the previous candle for you. So the way the 50% rule works, and Sarah Strat Sniper, you can follow her on Twitter. She actually kind of did some research on this one, but the idea is if you have a candle that went up or down, two up or down, if it starts retracing and it gets past the 50% mark, you have like an 84% chance that it's going to become a 3-bar. I don't know about you, but I like when percentages are high on things. Especially since everything seems like it's against us when we're playing the stock market. So if you told me I had an 84% chance to win the lottery tomorrow, I'd definitely be playing. So that's what ended up happening. We went halfway through, and then it definitely continued to drop. Now, when you're looking at that, I'd be looking at something, once we pass the 50% mark, I'd be looking at like a 326.71. So anything above that put wise, so 327, 328, 329 put even, since we're playing 0 DTEs at that point. But geez, you could have gotten out when it hit 326, the price target 71, or stayed in it and made an extra $300 intrinsic. So I don't, that's awesome. I wish I did that. I did not. I made my price profit target and I stopped trading. That's my new rule that I've been developing. So anyway, all right, back to JWN. Questions? Anybody got questions? Type them, chat them, speak them. Not all at once. Okay. All right, so JWN, that's something like and again, the 212s are probably the easiest to play. Why? Because you literally have four things. You have your entry to the upside and downside, entry or your price target to the upside and the downside. You get in and then get out. So yeah, put JWN on your list, your watch list. That's something to look for. All right, we got Lucid. This one is a mess of a chart. I've been playing that one a lot lately, so we'll do our broadening formation right quick. Downside. I'd have to go to the daily to see anything for the ups. So that drops, so that's not really it. Wow, that doesn't really have a great upside trend line. All else fails, connect the 3 to the previous bar and where it goes. Okay, so Lucid. All right, so the daily entry again, 2-1. Let me remove those trend lines actually. So these are the kind of plays that that don't interest me. So reason being, number one, let me zoom in so I can show you. So here's our entry level, right? Entry is 22.61. Our price target is $22. Much even. Might as well just say 22. Well, that's kind of a bummer. You're looking at a 22 put, hoping that it's going to drop further. I don't like that bet. So what I end up doing is saying, you know what? Let's say maybe I get it on the 2-bar. So 22 even. We lose the support at 22 even. Well, the next bit of support's down at 21.77. That's not a big move either. That's kind of lame. So now let me zoom out. So now I look at this and say, okay, so maybe we get down to 21.77. Maybe we get past 21.77. Remember, like, the strat is all about price action. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to trade exactly the entry and exit that the strat has. But anyway, so the grass. So here we go. We see a lot of support right here. 21.77. So let me go ahead and remove that and actually do this right here. So, okay, 2166 is quite a bit of support. We bounced off it once, we came down, we bounced, came back up. Well, now we sit here, bounce again, and, well, we have a kind of a shooter that is getting pretty close to coming to the downside. Well, the next bit is down here, 1870. So that's what I start looking for. You know, again, it does help to have like a macro view, a bigger time frame view of what you're looking at here. Because if you're just sitting here staring at the day, and you can kind of see that it's been bouncing around, you know, consolidating in this area, and it's done it in the past. Like this area here is a pretty big support area. It looks like. So, and now we're looking at between the green and the yellow here. So a lot of bouncing around happens here. So as far as what Lucid's going to do, I don't know now. I mean, might follow the rest of the market or it might go up. The upside play is definitely a little bit more enticing on the 2-1. So there's our entry and there's our price target. So anyway, my point is that the one thing that I really like about the strat and price action in general is that you can kind of make it what you want it to be. So I use, you know, price action, but the strat helps me find those entries. So anyway, there's Lucid. All right, let's see, 1, 2 down. Let's go take a look. I'm not going to look at all these because I figure maybe we'll chart for another like 10 minutes and then look at some stuff that you guys want to look at. The 1, 2 down. Cisco is something that I think people have played in the past year. We got a 1, 2 down. So the idea here with like a 1, 2 down is you're going to be trying to hopefully what you kind of want to be looking for, like this is going to be a rev strat. That's what it's actually called. I'm sitting here trying to explain it. So the rev strat idea is that you're going to get a powerful reversal up. In this case, when you have like a 2 down, a 1, 2 down setup, right? So what I personally like to see is like a 1, a 2 down, but it be green. That means that, you know, to me, it's a really strong likelihood that the next candle up is actually going to be a 2 up green. So that's what I really like to see when I'm looking at like rev strats. But you know, your entry be here, 56.44, and your price target wouldn't be the 1, it'd be the candle before the 1, or in case the other one. So we'll move it to a 3. So we had 2 days of consolidation, or 2 weeks of consolidation on Cisco, and then a 2 down. So, which, I mean, goodness gracious, it's still inside the previous 1. So, but yeah, so that's your rev strat that you'd be looking at there, 1, 2, 2 bullish. So, not a big fan of the setup though. Again, it's hard for me to be bullish right now with everything that's going on in the world. High gas prices, inflation. Oh, and what I think this coming week when they start spitting out some of the rates, the percentage that the Fed's gonna be doing. I don't remember. I have to look at Market Watch. All right, on the flip side, let's go to the 2 down ones. So BP is on one of those. That's crazy to me. That BP actually had a down a couple days. Kind of weird considering how gas prices have been going nuts. But yeah, here's BP. Now the thing that I don't necessarily like about British Petroleum is that look. I mean, number one, the movements, the ATR is not that great, $1.50. So if I were going to be looking at something to play in this space, I'd be looking like ExxonMobil or Oxy. Downfall is Oxy is very spready. I mean that's one of the, I know the favorites of the room, but you're looking here when you're excuse me, when you're looking at Oxy, especially on open, it gets pretty spready. Just again because a lot of times the open interest isn't all that high. as opposed to like looking at ExxonMobil, which just always has high open interest. What's that? Put. He put had high open interest. People are saying it's coming down. Wow. Interesting. Keep an eye on BP. So anyway, yeah, I mean not BP, ExxonMobil, sorry. So that is the 2 down 1. Play it the same way. It could go up, it could go down when you're sitting here looking at a 2-1 setup. Just on the 1 bar, set your highs and lows. On the 2 bar, set your price targets. All right, we have a couple more minutes. All right, let's look at a pivot machine gun on the weekly. Visa. All right, so thing about a pivot machine gun is that you want at least 5 higher or lower highs to be having a pivot machine gun setup. So in this case, we'd be looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we actually have 6 here. That's cool. So to get in on this, we'd be looking for a 2 up. Right? We want a reversal. And then our first price target would be $218.65. So I'll change this to entry. Which at that point you might as well make it 201 even. But as far as your entry goes, because remember we really do try to, for some reason things try to gravitate towards whole numbers. One of those weird Fibonacci circle of life, whatever things. So the entry, 284, and our price level would be our price target one would be 218.65. So that's a pretty solid move, assuming it goes that route. So let's move over to the daily, kind of see what potential moves we could have in the day. Keep in mind ATR, the average range that a stock can move is about $6.80. So if I wanted to go and look at the next price target, that's 206. Wow. So that's pretty much our $6 move right there. That could potentially happen if we get our pivot machine gun and we just come back up and take them all out, right? That's really the whole idea of a pivot machine gun. With some power, because you've had such a drop over the course of time. With such power, you come through and you take out multiple stops that people might be having that in this case went long or went short. So they got a bunch of stops, and then it will come back down. A bunch of stops, come back down, something like that. So anyway, so yeah, 206.37. That'd be pretty solid price target there. A Visa, I put that one on watch, especially since it had a hammer on the weekly. So the psychology behind that, right, is that obviously it went down at some point. So sellers sold, people that were holding sold, got out of it, drop, and then buyers felt pretty comfortable at whatever level we got to here, and decided to start buying it back up. So that's the psychology behind a hammer candle. So when you see that again, like a green hammer candle, like a 2 down green is even better. And then same thing goes with the inverse. You have a shooter. Let's see, C is a shooter, in fact, it claims. Yep, so C is a shooter. So our entry would be there at 53.95. Now, where are we going? Wow. 52. Now, average true range, $2. So that's probably a pretty solid bet right there. But the shooter, same kind of psychology, right? It was 2 down, and it started to, the buyers, came in, started buying some stuff, and then the sellers took control and brought the candle back down. So that's a shooter. But I like to see shooters, like if I'm really looking at like a rev strat setup or a reversal, like a 2-1-2 reversal or a 3-1-2, anything like that, 3-2-2. I really want to see this shooter. Like I want to see a 2-up candle, but I want to see it red and I want to see a shooter. You know, that means obviously then we have a nice solid downward momentum move there. So yeah. Anyway, all right. So with that, I think I'll stop charting and open. Let's see, UCO is the first one somebody brought up. So you guys can take yourself off mute if you want to, and ask away. So first off, UCO has no option chain, so I would not touch it with a 10-foot pole. But what you do have is your 1-2. This is going to be like your rev strat. Now, the thing with this particular setup is that if you're going to play, the rev strat is typically going to be a bearish one when you're looking at something like this, a 1-2, and then you're looking at your entry being here and your downside target being you know, the 140 area. That's, you know, if it goes red. The 1 bar basically meh. You know, this area could act as some support, 144, 41, 30, or 144, 32. But this would be where you set your price target at, the 140 area. Now, again, this was green, so you'd be looking to play a 2-2 continuation, and in the magnitude's unreal. X-Terran, what do they? I don't even know what they do, but magnitude on the candle on the weekly is pretty big actually. So right now it's sitting at 156, 159. So down around here, definitely took a reversal, didn't it? Hit a pretty solid high and then started coming back down and back up a little bit. I guess buyers took a little bit of control. So. Yeah, so yeah, your entry 160, price target 176. Again, that's a 2-2 continuation. Those aren't really actionable setups. So, but you know, wait for your break on the daily to get it a 2-up, and then maybe look at a smaller time frame and try to find yourself an actual entry then. You know, a 2-1-2 or a 3-1-2. You know, a 2-2 reversal. So. How many today? Oh, okay. So anyway, yeah, that's that. UCO. Anything else? Anybody else? Everybody's so quiet. All right. Well, then I'm gonna move over to some of the dailies and look at those. So AMD was a 2-1. Really have a lot of movement between 108 and 109, but that move up back to 111, 12 looks pretty solid. That's something to look at. 100 puts and the 110 calls have the most OI. Interestingly enough, that pretty much the 100 area is a price target. So if AMD continues to go downside, I must be looking for it to go 2 down, get past the 103.07 range for a drop to 100. Average true range is $7, 7.25. Something to keep an eye on, especially since the 100 puts are a lot cheaper than the 103s are at the monies. At FCX on Friday. So this is probably the perfect example. Like if we end up getting a 2 up bar, and look how close the 1 and the 2 bar, the highs are to each other. So I'll put some lines in here for you, but 470.78 and 470.80, or yeah, 47.84 and 47.78. So those are a little too close. So my entry then, I'd just move the high up, since clearly this is an area that has some resistance slash potential future support. But I'd move it on up and just get in after the 47.84 break for a quick move to 48.24. FCX. I already looked at Oxy very quickly. It's a 2-1, but again, downside. Look at the magnitude on Oxy though for the daily. Yeah, the next, the next area on the 2-1. I mean, the lows might as well be the same, which I think they pretty much are. 56.47 versus 56.41. So I'll get in on the 56.41 for a downside move to 51.03 if it goes that route. But then you look at the weekly, and I mean, it had a little bit of selling pressure at, I think, all-time highs. No, not all-time highs. Definitely not all-time highs. Back that far. But definitely had some selling pressure. Definitely highs since COVID. But so keep an eye on that. This is obviously a level of resistance now too, but it's also a pretty solid price target all the way up here. So you got some steps in the way. So some 3-1s to look at on the daily. So we have CCL. All the drawings. Okay, so CCL 3-1. So typically when we play 3-1s, it's pretty much the same as 2-1s. You set your price target, or you set your entries at the high and low of the 1, and then your price targets at the high and low of the 3 bar. So that's it. Not a lot of upside, a little bit more downside than there is upside as far as magnitude goes. But the other thing that's right here is a potential gap fill. So then that's what we have here. Price target, and then the next price target's all the way up there. Whew. So the other thing that I like to do is, I go through this process with pretty much anything that I'm looking to play, mainly because I want to know, where this thing could potentially go. But now the question is, okay, so it gets over 18, cool, but is it going to hurt me if I wait till it gets over 18, my first price target, instead of, if it makes a 23-cent move and it has a lot of momentum? I mean, we have a monthly high. What is that? A monthly low or high? A monthly low. So the previous month's low was here, so we were 2 down on the month then. But the previous month low was here, so this is going to act as an area of some resistance. Then, if we can get back through that month, well, hey, you know what? Maybe we will hit 1971. But these are all levels to keep in mind, because they do act as pretty solid support and resistance. The other one was RCL, so both cruise lines have a 3-1. Which wouldn't be surprising, right? Like when you look at things in the same industry, a lot of times they move the same too. Airlines, same. Cars, Ford, GM, stuff like that. They kind of move the same. Banks, so it's not really surprising we see the kind of same setup here. All right, what else? Been playing a lot of DraftKings, both in real life and in the stock market. So on a daily level, this is PMG to the upside. It's a pretty weak one, but and then stuff around just for sanity. So the thing that intrigues me about DraftKings is I believe push this out a little. Yeah, we're already in all-time lows with DraftKings. So the question is, where does it go from here? So now, again, I start looking at whole numbers, broadening formations. We're sitting here at the bottom of it. Again, it doesn't mean that it won't drop further, but you know, where can it go? Will it go to zero? Likely not. But you know, at this point, it doesn't really have any levels of past support. So what you could do is start looking at things like Fibonacci, which I wanted to. So you look at like Fibonacci retracements, kind of give yourself some idea of where you could be going with DraftKings here. So if we were to retrace, always do this wrong. Backwards. Here at the 100, I guess it'll be this wave. And like the 6-1. I gotta change my Fibonacci numbers. That's happening here. Anyway, but yeah, the Fibonacci tool pretty solid for figuring out where things go once once you're in all time highs or all time lows. Again, I think my setup is a little broke, but there we go. So yeah, then you get some price targets at least that give you an idea, like maybe something to shoot for. So yeah, that's a way to look into all time lows, all time highs. But yeah, I like DraftKings a lot. For some reason lately, it's actually been working out pretty well for like the last like 2 or 3 weeks for me, both upside and downside plays. And I've definitely posted those. Okay, we got like 6 minutes left. I definitely want to keep this to an hour. So any other questions?
Can you look at
What is it?
NIO, NIO?
Yeah, sure. All right. So yeah, Neo. Whee. That is a solid 2-bar down.
So
yeah.
I have a question. I am new and I'm trying to understand. I looked at it and I see that everything is red except that on the hourly it's starting to become green. So I don't understand the phenomena in regards to if majority are one color, say green, red, and now it's becoming green on the 1 hour. Like, how would that work out? And What does that mean?
Okay, so I mean, as far as the colors go, I wouldn't get too distracted with those. In fact, a lot of stratters, a lot of people in general, shut off the candle colors. The idea with the strat is you're either looking at like a candle that goes two up, which means it just goes above the previous candle's high,
Mm-hmm.
and it keeps going up, or it goes two down, which goes below the previous candle's low. So, and then a one stays in between the lines, and a three goes out on both sides. So don't get too hung up on the colors themselves. But when it
Okay.
comes to understanding time frame continuity, and that's kind of I think where the question was going.
Mm-hmm.
When you start wanting to see what time frame continuity is, like green and red, all this really means is the current price. Like so, if the next candle comes out here and it's above here, opens and then goes up, we are now officially green time frame continuity wise on the hourly. Um, that's really all that means. And the more time frames that you have all of the same color, right, up or down. Color's really bad. I've been telling you not to worry. I just told you not to worry about color, but
Yes,
if
I got
you
it.
yeah, if you have like, and again 5 minute, 15, 30, 60, 2 hour, 4 hour, all of this stuff ended the day Friday green Neo. Um, Actually, I'm sorry. This is actually looking at aftermarket stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Pretty
but
much
yeah.
off.
So it ended all red for Neo, I should say, on the weekly, the daily, the hourly, the 30 minute, the 4 hour, the 15 minute, and the 5 minute, all ended in red for Neo. So the then you would be looking at a put play, right? A short play. Whereas if it's all green, then you want to be looking at a long play. It's like one of those levels of confluence that just helps you out and gives you more confidence in the trade that you're getting to, or the side that you're picking to get into, whether it's long or short.
Okay.
Anybody
Okay.
else?
Thank you.
Sure.
So wait, can you draw up the plays, like the set?
For Neo?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. All right, let me go ahead and
Thank
clear
you.
what I got. Okay, so broadening formation wise, I don't typically draw on the weekly, but auto that. Okay. So, goodness gracious, see a lot of downside for Neo, so I'm not even gonna draw. Goodness gracious. Trying to see if there's any past area. I'm looking at like pivot points where it dropped and then went back up. Here. So, all right. So yeah, with Neo, our entry would be playing a two down ad. So you'd be looking at a two down continuation. Again, those aren't technically actionable, but I mean, it's not saying you couldn't play it, especially since the next thing that you have to do is look a ways back to see where support actually is. So, wrong way. So we got to go all the way back to like August, see some support. So our next area would probably be the $14 range for support. I don't know if I have that much. Yeah, so yeah, $14, $15. So I mean, you could pretty much be looking at an entry to the downside below 1607. Then your first price target 15 06, and then about another dollar later, your second price target would be 14.12. So again, that's with a 2 down continuation. Not technically something that you should probably play, but the other side is a 2-2 reversal. So we have a 2 down candle. Again, the previous, this candle took the previous low out of the candle here. So the sometimes. Okay, so the 2-2 reversal would be a 2 up now. So since we have a pretty solid 2 down candle, if this went 2 up, then we'd probably, that'd be a stronger play, right? A 2-2 reversal here. So then our price target would be there, and then our second price target would be here. So part of me wonders if like Neo suffered bad, the whole China thing, but if Neo also suffered because like Rivian failed on their earnings and stuff like that. But that's the beauty about playing price action. Really don't care. So anyway, that's it. So I'd be looking at honestly for probably like a 2 up reversal. Not likely that's going to happen, but then again, it could. Next week or tomorrow. Now, if we look at it on the weekly, yeah, you'd be looking for an entry on the weekly at the actual first price target there, the second price target that we set of 20.55 to get a 2-2 reversal. Otherwise, again, you're just playing a 2 down continuation. And if you're just going to play something quick, a 2-2 continuation to the downside or the upside, either way, that's not a bad thing. I play 2-2 continuations all the time on things that move fast. Neo moves fast during the mornings. Lucid moves fast in the mornings. But once you get to the point, I mean, take a look at the first 30-minute candle here on Neo in the morning. So 9:30 candle's big in 3, 9:30 candle's a big old 2. Same thing here to the upside. So you can, if it goes 2 down immediately in the morning, the spreads aren't too bad. It could end up being a profitable play for you pretty quickly. Again, assuming you pick something that's in the right vicinity, I'd be looking at like the 16 or the 15.5 options. 15 if you're feeling really confident about it dropping down to below $15. But keep in mind one of your one price targets right here, 15.06. So wouldn't actually be in the money. It never, if it just bounced right off 15.06 and came back up.
Thank you.
Sure thing. Anybody else? Okay, well, thanks for joining, y'all. I'll do some charting in the morning, again, on some things, some setups that I like, and I'll put them in the watch list. I'll definitely get the recording up online, too. All right, take care, everyone.